the smartest investors and founders in the Indian tech ecosystem.
Over tequila-based drinks?
Yeah. So happy you think I'm smart.
That's true. Questionable on this one in particular.
She's Maansi, I'm Adam, and we're lucky enough to have Sanna Vohra with us today, the founder of the Wedding Brigade, which aims to be one of the leading wedding brands in India, offering a range of products and services for all of your wedding needs.
And I'm also Maansi's sister.
Oh yeah.
We don't want to highlight the less attractive parts of her CV because, you know, we want to be respectful of our guests. But yeah, full disclosure, she's Maansi's sister.
So.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Sanna. Cheers. I don't know how much choice you had, but hey, thanks for coming.
Cheers. Yeah, I was.
She has a lot of agency in this. Just FYI.
I was given 4:30 or 5:30 as my choices as to whether or not I got to be in the show. So, you know.
And you're better for it, so you're welcome.
That's more than most.
Exactly.
Right?
So let's start off. Can you tell us a little bit more about why you founded the Wedding Brigade?
Sure. So it was actually very random. I went to Brown University for my undergrad, and while I was there, I founded a small student-run business with a few friends. So I had the experience of kind of starting something from scratch, but on a very, very sort of micro level, and I knew I enjoyed the process. So in the back of my head, even when I went into banking post my undergrad, I always knew at some point I was going to go back to entrepreneurship, to starting a company. And I was in India just on holiday while I was still working in New York, and a good friend was planning her sister's wedding. And to give us a sense of the decor, the outfits, the hotel, the invitations, she had to go to like various websites, you know, WhatsApp groups, email threads, a Word document with pictures stuck onto it. Basically, the entire process of planning and organizing the wedding was so incredibly inefficient that it stuck with me. I'm like, how could there not be a better way to do this, given the spend and given the social importance also of weddings in India? So I went back to the US and I started doing research, and I found that there was really no centralized place where you could find wedding content, buy wedding related products, and book wedding related services online in India. And a few months later I moved back, and that was sort of the beginning of the Wedding Brigade.
Awesome, awesome. You know, because I don't think most people think of weddings because of their physical nature to be something that's ripe for at least a digital first disruption, which flows into actually our next question, where, you know, as you scale, how do you think about growth in a business that is predominantly physical, but you're attacking it sort of with the digital vertical first?
Sure. So I think predominantly in the past, it's been looked at as a very sort of physical industry, and that does hold true today, but that doesn't mean that there aren't better ways of sort of attacking certain segments of it digitally, which actually makes the consumer better off as well. So I'd say the first sort of part of planning a wedding is the beginning, when you're just gathering information, looking for ideas, finding vendors. This used to be probably the most disorganized part of planning a wedding earlier, because people would just be asking, you know, their friends, their cha-cha, their chachi, their cousins, their grandma, everyone involved, you know, for just suggestions, asking them to send phone numbers without really knowing too much about their work other than whatever they've seen at other weddings. And most weddings would end up looking and feeling the same as other weddings in the family. Now, I think with Pinterest, with Instagram, with people just being more exposed to what other options there are when planning a wedding, a digital first strategy makes the most sense, because that's where you get the widest breadth of options. You get transparency when it comes to pricing. You understand what is available in your city, what you can get from somewhere else, what you can source locally. And so I actually think a digital approach in the sourcing and inspiration side of things is the right way to do it. And I think we've seen a lot of success there. The vast majority of our traffic for that reason is actually organic, and it comes in through our blog and through our social media and things like that when people are starting the wedding planning process. And for things like trousseau shopping, for a regular girl attending weddings, you know, for her cousin or for her best friend, for what the bride is going to wear to a smaller function like a mehndi or a ghar ki puja, that she can all buy online.
Yeah, so you talk a lot about, you know, how people spend online for weddings, whether or not it's buying the small trousseau items or moving offline for the larger ticket items. Can you talk a little bit more about the e-commerce consumer habits of like your average Indian shopper?
Sure.
Beyond your specific space.
Sure. So I can try and give you sort of a more general overview of what's happening in India, and then I can give a little bit of color on my space. So I think one massive difference to me versus a lot of other countries is cash. right? We are still, despite demonetization, despite everything, we are still a very heavy cash on delivery society, right? Our order value, our basket size tends to be a lot smaller. India's distribution networks aren't as advanced, so it is a little bit more expensive for us to get these smaller basket values to our customers than it is, say, in China or in the US. Another thing is we are seeing now, I think, a little bit of equal distribution, at least in my company. I can't necessarily talk about other companies in this space, between tier 1, tier 2 and tier 3 cities. We see a lot of orders coming in from tier 2, tier 3 as well, for larger order values as well. And I would say probably the other thing is there tends to be a need for human interaction even in e-commerce. So while we see, for example, our NRI customers, if they have a question, if they want to ask us something, they're much more comfortable sending an email. Or even sometimes from some of our tier 1 cities, our younger customers are much more comfortable sending an email to ask a question or to be like, okay, these are my custom measurements, can you make this for me? But a lot of people, especially your slightly older customers, still love speaking on the phone. So you do need to have a pretty robust, I think, operations team and customer service team who is available to a certain extent on the phone, so people have that sort of sense of touch, or okay, you know, Mitesh is handling my query or Priya is handling my query.
So you spoke a little bit about how different types of Indian consumers shop online. Can you maybe talk a little bit about the tension between building a, so to speak, luxury or leading brand in India with the kind of price sensitivity that we see on the Indian e-commerce, from the Indian e-commerce consumer, who are constantly looking for discounts, constantly looking for the cheapest possible price to buy something online?
So I think there are a couple of points to make here. I think the first thing is weddings is a segment where people are willing to spend, right? Because this is a once in a lifetime event. It's very important in their society, in their community, in their family. They want to put their best foot forward, that this isn't necessarily the kind of space where people are looking to get the cheapest deal possible. People are concerned with quality. And so that is what we play to, right? We want to make sure that someone who's planning a wedding in 10 lakh can find high quality items on our portal. So even if that means they're only willing to spend 3,000 rupees on an outfit they wear to a small function, they should have some good options there. And for someone who's planning a wedding in 15 crore, they should be able to buy an Anita Dongri gown as well. Right. So we make sure that we stress on quality at every single price point. And we obviously do have a line, right? There are certain types of brands we're not going to sell if we don't believe that they consistently deliver on quality, or we believe that the designs are very outdated. We want to make sure that everyone can have something that's on trend regardless of what their budget is.
Right. Now, while we all try to stay on trend, we'll now try to drink more tequila.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm just going to head out for a second and maybe not come back.
Lovely. See you later.
An awkward end to this interview, but instead, now we're going to go into our favorite segment, Truth and Tequila. The rules are very simple, Sanna. All you have to do is either tell the truth or take a shot of tequila to any of the questions we've designed for you.
Adam genuinely thinks that he's like Amitabh Bachchan on on Kaun Banega Crorepati during the segment. He's like, take a shot of tequila or tell the truth.
I like to intonate. All right.
All right.
I appreciate
Do I have a
it
time
either.
limit to think of the truth, or do I have longer to?
No.
Let's say you don't.
Okay, I shouldn't have asked.
All right. So Sanna, first question. Would you rather keep your investors happy in the short term or think long term of the fundamentals or the sustainability of your business?
Think long term for sure. I mean, there is a chicken and egg situation, right? I need capital long term, so I can't keep them very unhappy, or I can't keep them unhappy for too long. But to me, kind of making sure that I'm building a business that makes sense both on a consumer level and on an economic level is the most important. And even if that may lead to, you know, disagreements on approach or something with investors, I feel like with data, with time, that's something that can be sorted out. But just choosing to go down a path you don't believe in, I think, is a disaster.
Yeah. Speaking of paths you may or may not believe in, how's it working with your sister?
I'd give it a solid 5.6 on 10.
What?
I'm joking. I'm joking.
You are hella underpaying me,
I'm
just
joking.
FYI.
Hey, I need to know the truth because, you know, there's some shots waiting.
No. Honestly, it's been amazing working with Maansi. I think when people have come in with work experience at big companies where they've been given a lot of responsibility, are made to think for themselves, work for themselves, that kind of attitude and approach is super helpful coming into the Wedding Brigade. And I think like she's able to take on a lot of stuff and give me time to think about bigger picture things that sometimes I haven't had as much time to dedicate to.
Disclaimer, I did not pay her to say this.
In fact, she pays her.
Yes, she does.
The company pays her. But yeah, I'm honestly, yeah, I'm super happy. If you're looking for a part-time job, feel free to hit me up as well.
As
Coming
opposed,
soon.
yeah.
When the
All
kids
right.
stop reading.
So,
Haven't they already stopped reading?
They really have a little bit, huh? Shit.
being a woman founder in any industry is difficult, but have you ever been rejected funding because you were a woman?
I mean, I can't know that for sure because when I give a
So
pitch,
you can drink.
I'm answering it truthfully. When you give a pitch, they don't give you a feedback form saying rejected for being a woman.
Sure.
That's
Like,
true.
they'll just say we're not interested at this point in time.
I think you should drink.
I feel like you guys needed to ask me tougher questions if you make me want to drink. I'm just a very truthful person.
That's fair.
That is fair. If only some people who are so biased in the question design process would not.
If you ask me a tough question, I will drink.
Okay.
All right.
Adam, go for it.
Yeah, challenge presented.
Are you the favorite child?
No.
Who is the favorite child?
Misha?
Is she really though?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Don't kid yourself.
Okay, fair.
Try harder.
I think you can ask this next question.
All right. Have you ever directly copied something from a competitor? If so, what?
Maybe like a layout of a page I've liked, but that's about it. See, at the end of the day, there are not very many of us. So there are other things that sometimes I do like, but like A, may not make sense on our website, or B, like you can't do the exact same thing. But like layouts of pages, whether it's competitors or other websites I like in the US, sometimes, yeah, we do look at that.
Who is your favorite investor who has invested in the Wedding Brigade?
Bloom, tell Dhanasri, who's coming and being interviewed, I think, in a couple of weeks.
Yes, exactly.
Honestly, I think we're going to have to take shots.
Oh no!
So the caveat, of course, is if you tell all the questions truthfully, we have to drink.
These were really easy questions, guys.
Your sister loves you.
I don't know how I feel about Cafe Patron. I think I'm gonna sit this one out. And
Oh, bro, this is our show. Pick up a shot glass.
Pick up a shot.
I hate Cafe Patron.
I think I'm going to ask some questions, and
Okay,
whoever
fine.
answers worse has to take a shot.
Okay, fine. Let's do it.
Okay. What is the toughest part about working with Adam, and what is the toughest part about working with Maansi?
Go first.
Adam is very into lame theatrics, so it's difficult to kind of reel it back in.
Maansi?
I was gonna be nice.
Oh, I don't want to drink this.
Drink that. Wait a sec. So wait, what?
What's the most difficult part about working with Maansi? Whoever gives, in my opinion, the most truthful answer has to drink.
She's a little anal.
I think you both have to drink. Guys, I expected
Cheers to Tech and Tequila.
This is really not working
Okay,
out for us.
next question.
Now, if we're thinking about the wedding space again, more specifically in India, and like you said, there are a couple of competitors that are in your space. Do you see, 3 to 5 years down the line, more consolidation, an even greater spattering of competitors, and you're going to really see a more vibrant market, or is scale going to be a real important factor into remaining competitive in an industry like this?
So I could potentially see a little bit of consolidation. So we're the only real full service model where we do contents, products and services. There are a lot of competitors that just try and tackle one tiny piece of the puzzle. So someone will do just photography and makeup, someone will do just venue, someone will do just content. So I could potentially see how there is a little bit of consolidation there. Or say even for us going forward, if we want to bolster business, bolster our presence in a certain geography, we may consider that. But right now, for us, it's about getting our fundamentals right, getting our main businesses off the ground, starting, like I think we've done that honestly in the last couple of years. And now we're really in the space where we're scaling it and we're just strengthening and building our community. And so those are sort of our two big priorities this year.
So an even broader question, kind of piggybacking off of what you were saying, looking into the future of the wedding industry, how different do you think the wedding planning process will be in India in, say, 5 to 10 years?
So I would give you a picture that I feel should be the case in like 2 to 3 years, in fact.
Okay.
What I would imagine, and this is obviously our dream as the Wedding Brigade, is as soon as a woman is engaged in India, she gets onto our app or she goes onto our website, and immediately she signs in, enters her wedding date, enters her city. We have an entire timeline, right? Saying, okay, you're 10 months away. The first thing you need to do is book your venue. Here are some options based on the city you're in. Let us know your budget. We'll narrow them down for you. You can contact our concierge on this chat by clicking here. Okay, 5 months away, look at your photographer. Have you looked at ideas for your mehndi hairstyles? Read this article now. Right? We want to control the entire process, give them as many options as possible, and in the industries where it makes sense, be vertically integrated. So you're actually consuming our products, booking one of our makeup artists, buying our clothing. So that is the dream, that you can plan your entire wedding all the way up until your honeymoon on the Wedding Brigade and get the best pricing, the best options, and just a really easy, fun, cool experience.
Just like this was.
Yes, exactly.
And I guess let's hope that weddings that are such a big part of our life become an easier and less painful process for everyone.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah?
So Sanna, what has been the hardest day for you as a founder?
I mean, honestly, like a lot of days are like frustrating and hard, right? It's not like a never-ending party or something, even though it's in the wedding space. Probably one day that stands out to me though is this day where an employee who I really loved, who was adding a lot of value, was moving. And so, like, you know, she was leaving, I didn't want her to leave, she didn't want to leave, and it was definitely like a gap I felt like I had to fill. And at the same time, this agency that we were using for development wasn't releasing part of our code that we had already paid them for. And I had to go to a police station and file an FIR, and it was like completely ridiculous, like the kind of stuff I had to go through. So that day was like definitely taxing, definitely troubling, and like there have definitely been other days that have also been hard, but I think that's part of it, right? And I do feel like as time has gone on, like things don't affect me as easily.
So you
like
build a resilience to a range of
yeah,
things.
you build like a really thick skin.
And I guess what would be, you know, from a lot of the learnings that you've experienced as a founder in India, what is one piece of advice that you would have for a founder, a budding founder in the Indian tech landscape?
Sure.
A last shot of advice, one might say.
Ooh, okay, fine. I feel bad.
Yes.
You guys have been trying to make me drink, and I do love Cafe Patron.
Yeah.
So
You got to use the vernacular.
Exactly. Last shot of advice.
wasn't bad. All right. So my advice would be to make time every day to focus on the big picture. So it's very, very easy when you are a budding founder, you have a small team, to just sort of get like, consumed every day by dousing daily fires, right? There's a bug here, there's a marketing problem there, there's a hiring issue there, someone's not getting along with someone, right? These things come up every single day. But there is a bigger picture mission you're working towards, and if you get too consumed in these daily fires, sometimes you're not giving these larger projects or launches the thought and the time that they need. And so what I actually do is I schedule an appointment with myself on my calendar. So I block out time for myself to make sure that I do that every day, because otherwise you're getting lost in the weeds and not really seeing the forest for what it is.
Ah, so profound.
Yeah, I try.
At any rate, Sanna, thank you so much for coming to Tech and Tequila.
You're welcome. I didn't have a choice.
I'm sure you
glad
did.
I came.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers.